Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build MLB edition. I am Kevin Robertson with Taylor Smith. As always, getting ready to go over this main slate over at DraftKings for MLB. The goal here is to help you win. If we do help you in any way, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and then come over and join us in our Patreon. Just $5.99 a month. You can catch the link at the bottom of this video. You can get access to all of our top plays, all of our advice, and of course, our exclusive Discord. Excuse me, my gosh. The way we do this, we go game by game, highlighting the top pitchers and the best offenses. Taylor, why don't you jump right into it with the Guardians and Orioles while I catch my breath here?
Yeah, this game's kind of underwhelming. I do like Dean Kramer, 6,500 on DraftKings as an SP2, just like the Morton thing yesterday, which didn't go well at all. But the new day, he's a decent, average-ish pitcher overall. Cleveland, just a low-power lineup, about average for Ks as well. So not a great spot, but for 6.5, it helps you get up to some bats. Just a decent spot, all things considered. But that's about it. I'm not really on Cleveland. I don't think Kramer will be owned enough to make that viable. And then Baltimore against Gavin Williams, not really interested in either side.
Yeah, Baltimore coming in with a 4.14 implied run total, just okay. If I'm not really with you that much on Dean Kramer, that's fine if you want to just save. Because by the way, I'm sure you'll be ready to agree this is not a great pitching slate. So just for value alone, I'm okay with it. And then if I'm going to do anything, it's Orioles, and I'm not even that psyched to play them. Next game, Mitchell Parker taking on the Pirates in Pittsburgh. PNC Coors, as I like to say, because I don't know why, but games always go wild there. And then we have the Nats on the other side against Bailey Falter. Pitcher-friendly park. Offenses aren't very scary. You could certainly look to the pitching here. And I'd probably start with Mitchell Parker because the Ks in the Pirates lineup look pretty good here. But it's probably where I'm at. Don't want the offenses and probably just Parker here.
I have a lot of interest in Washington. It's a pretty good secondary stack. They're pretty affordable beyond Wood and CJ Abrams. It's Bailey Falter, just not a very good lefty, not going to miss a lot of bats. Like Alex Call in the leadoff spot, 4,100, pretty good value. Ahmed Rosario, second, third base. Eligibility should hit heart of the order. Pretty good history against lefties as well. And then I don't mind James Wood or Abrams if he's in lefty-lefty. I think that's a pretty good stack. I'm not sure how owned they're going to be. So I'm interested in Washington, but not on the pitching, not on the Pirates.
Certainly a stack that does not cost a lot beyond Wood, and well, Abrams is on the IL, but beyond Wood, you're not really spending a lot of money to get to them. So, and Bailey Falter is not great, so I don't hate that from that side of things. All right, Mariners and the Reds in Great American Ballpark. Obviously, massive park upgrade for the Mariners. They are projecting really well. It's like a 4.6 implied run total, taking on the Reds here. Bryce Miller faces Cincy. It's an okay matchup, but a really bad park, and he is obviously a good pitcher. But again, major park downgrade for him. He comes from a very, very nice pitcher park. On the other side, Mariners against Nick Martinez. You said before we went live, targeting Nick Martinez seems to never go right. But hey, Mariners, massive park upgrade. It's a really good park for hitting. They do have power. I mean, I guess you could maybe consider playing Martinez because of the state of the slate, and they do have strikeouts in their lineup, but I'm really interested in the Mariners. The only issue would be, are they going to be a chalky stack? And then if so, perhaps we go away from them a little bit.
Yeah, I think they will be chalky, but I'm not really concerned about it. It's a pretty affordable stack also. Like Raleigh's under 4K, just a really good hitting catcher that's not going to be – he's not expensive enough for who he is, and Martinez is another guy who's not really going to miss bats. So Raleigh as chalk, I have no issue with. Rodriguez or Rosarena. Guys like Luke Raley, like a cheap lefty power bat, I don't hate at all either. So I'm on Seattle, even though they're going to be owned. I'm also on Nick Martinez a little bit, just as a cheap, like 7K pitching option in spite of the park. You're getting leverage with him, I think. Like you said, Seattle has strikeouts in the lineup, about 25% against righties since the start of last year. So not a guy I roster very often. I don't remember the last time I did actually roster Nick Martinez, but I think getting to him on this slate a little bit makes some sense on DK.
I agree. I think the funny thing is, a lot of times when we talk leverage, or really the only time we talk leverage, it's about the stacks against a pitcher that is owned. And here's just the opposite. The Mariners are going to be owned. They do look good, but how often do chalky offenses fail us? Kind of every fucking day. So If you're not playing Mariners, Martinez at no ownership is kind of interesting. He does have a top 10 projection for the slate. Let's see on the other side, Cincy against Bryce Miller. Not really looking to attack Bryce Miller here, but also not really eager to fire him up.
I kind of like
really
Cincinnati. Like it's a 5-ball pitcher. It's a tiny park. The best hitters park on the slate. They do have good bats. Matt McClain just got off the IL. They have Eddie La Cruz, of course. It's not a amazing offense beyond that, but you can get cheap with guys like Fraley and Lux and Encarnacion and Strand. So I'm not really interested in Miller, but I think you can stack the Mariners or the Reds because it's a good park and I'm not going to be.
Oh, for sure. You certainly can. No doubt about it. I don't want to go out of my way to attack him, but it is Great American Ballpark. Miami hosting Arizona here. Brandon Pfaadt taking on the Marlins. Matchup and park automatically put Pfaadt in the, in consideration for sure. He's not really a guy I trust usually, but it does look good, and this pitching slate sucks. Max Meyer on the other side, the Diamondbacks come in with, I think, a 4.6 implied run total, despite the park, which tells you all you need to know. If, like, the Mariners and the Dodgers and the Angels, who we're going to get to a little bit later, if they're all getting way more owned, I think Arizona is a little bit sneaky here.
Yeah, I think that's one of the better stacks on the slate. It's just that they're kind of expensive. All of Carroll, Naylor, and Suarez are over 4.7. Even Perdomo's like 4.5, but Meyer, not an opposing pitcher, kind of a mediocre right-hander. He's got an average platoon split, so the lefties are the ones you're going to want primarily. Carroll, definitely the standout, definitely someone worth being up for in this slate, so I will have a lot of Arizona. Pfaadt, kind of to a lesser extent, like he's fine. He's just kind of pricey for who he is. It's a good matchup. Shouldn't really yield a ton of damage, but not chalk I'm super confident in, but I'm also not really getting to the Marlins against him. So kind of a stay away from everything except the Arizona hitters.
Yeah, I'm okay. Maybe I'll be a little bit more on Pfaadt than you, but obviously what his ownership actually coming in at only 12%. So it's not like it's egregious, but he's 8.7K. It doesn't feel super comfortable. If he's like more owned, I would be a little bit more into, playing the leverage game and going underweight and or stacking Marlins a little bit because they do have some lefties to throw at him. But I think he's a totally fair play considering the slate. San Francisco gets a park upgrade against the Phillies. Robbie Ray night. Phillies look pretty good here against Ray. Obviously, Ray does have strikeout upside, but he can give up a lot of production to the right-handed bats. They have a few of them to throw them for sure. So I think the Phillies look okay. It's not like Ray is necessarily a gas can all the time. So it's not like I feel amazing about the Phillies, but it is a good park for hitting. The Phillies are very, very powerful and talented. On the other side, Aaron Nola taking on the Giants. I think the park upgrade is negated by the fact that Aaron Nola is a pretty darn good pitcher, and obviously he's used to facing capable offenses in this park. So I lean Nola. I think it just comes out in ownership. He's 27% owned right now, chalkiest pitcher of the slate. You certainly could argue yourself into playing the Giants due to his ownership, the park, and the fact that they get a park jump too. So I think I'm going to play both sides, but since the pitching sucks, I do just find myself playing Nola a good amount.
Yeah, Nola and Ray are both on my radar for sure. It's just that Ray is 8K flat, so he's kind of cheap compared to someone like Pfaadt. Pfaadt has a better matchup, of course, but Ray historically is a better strikeout pitcher. Not sure, if it's still that guy anymore. He's 33 now, but should still have something in the tank. So I'm willing to bank on that for 8K. Not looking like he's that owned either. I see him around like 13%. So happy to do that. I think Noel's fine. I never have a lot of faith in him, but still a pitcher even in an advanced stage of his career. Match is okay. The Giants have some strikeouts in there, but kind of mediocre overall. San Francisco as a secondary stack is fine. Don't mind the Phillies, even the lefties like Harper and Schwarber are okay. If Ray's ownership comes up, that's something I'd be more interested in, but we'll see how it shakes out. I think the pitching is where I'm kind of focusing here, though.
Yeah, totally fair, which is kind of funny considering the park. I just think I'm going to play both sides of it. I think the Giants are interesting for leverage, and the Phillies are the Phillies, so I don't have a problem with it. Speaking of good parks, the Rays park is basically Coors, as we've found out so far this year. Tampa Bay taking on Sean Newcomb. The Rays look pretty good here. Don't mind them at all. Boston on the other side, they are stacked with lefty bats going off against Zach Littell, who it doesn't look good. I think both offenses look pretty good here. Pitchers have talent. Like they were once, considered to be solid guys, but just this park and the offenses, I just don't love the pitching. I think Boston obviously looks the best. They routinely suck whenever we think they're going to be amazing. Yesterday was not the case. They put up 7 runs, but it just is what it is. They do look really good, and there are other situations that people might be drawn to, whereas this park weirdly might go a little bit overlooked.
Yeah, I don't like it, but I'm kind of on the pitching as of now in this game. I
Boy.
think Newcomb at 5,800.
Oof.
He's been good
Dicey.
early in the season. The walks are a little bit high. I'm looking at his numbers. His ERA is a little bit unlucky. It's not a safe play at all, but he's only 5,800. And the Rays are not really an imposing offense. Like, it is a scary park, but they have a sub 100 ISO against lefties over the last 2 seasons, which is insanely low. It's really just Diaz and Caballero and then a bunch of trash. So I don't hate it. Like, he's so cheap that if he puts up 10 to 13 points, you're kind of thrilled. I don't know if he will do that. I don't have a ton of faith, but kind of an ownership thing and a price thing. So I'm okay with it. If the Rays are chalky, that's something I will be pretty much ignoring, just hoping they don't go off again. On the other side, I do have some interest in Littell, 7,500. It's a lot like the Pepio thing last night. Not as good a pitcher as Pepio, but Boston does have strikeouts in the lineup. They struck out around 25% of the time against righties over the last couple of years. So just another cheap SP2, not as cheap as Newcomb, but still good enough. I will get to Boston more than I will Tampa, just because it's a better lineup. They have a lot of lefty power to throw his way. This park does play up lefty power. So this is one I'm playing both sides of, with Red Sox and Littell, and then I'll get to some Newcomb.
Yeah, worth noting, Littell does have the 4th best projection and is only 7.5K. So in the name of forgetting Pepio, he is an okay play. I agree with you, because the strikeouts are there. But obviously, Boston has a lot of power from the left side. So I do lean Boston. So we're just going to go fork on the road on that one. Yankees taking on Chris Bubik in Yankee Stadium. That sounds bad for him. Obviously, the Yankees can always be leaned on. The numbers look really good for him across the board this year and last year. Very small sample size, of course. And the Yankees against left-handed pitchers, it usually goes New York's way. Clark Schmidt taking on the Royals, who get a park jump in Yankee Stadium. Again, side with the hitting here. I think the Royals, obviously, at some point, they're going to explode in this park. Could happen tonight. That said, I think it's mostly just Yankees for me in this one.
I kind of like Bubic. I think he's one of the more talented pitchers on the slate. Went to the bullpen last year, was dominant. Back in the rotation this year, he's been almost just as good. Obviously, the strikeouts are going to be down because he's starting, not relieving, but he looks legit. 8,400 is a bit steep relative to what we have on him, but I'm okay with it. Not a core play at all. I'm coming in around 10% right now on him, but strikeout stuff is there. The Yankees, people are going to stay away from them, but they do strike out 24% of the time against lefties. So there is a path for him. I'm on Kansas City a little bit. Secondary stack, kind of priority beyond Witt as a one-off. You don't have to stack them with him, obviously. Schmidt is one better pitcher, I think. I'm not really playing him on this slate in his first game of the year. But, Kansas City, okay, secondary stack on the Yankees at all.
Yeah, Bubic is playing. He's taking in some ownership, so that gets me even more excited about the Yankees. If he's going to be pushing 20% ownership possibly on a not great pitching slate, and the Yankees maybe go a little bit overlooked because they are expensive, fire up your Yankees. All right, Athletics, boy, oh boy, were they a good stack yesterday. 12 runs, top stack of the slate. They were definitely in at my stack, so that was cool. They are taking on the White Sox again in a good park for hitting, and they're facing Jonathan Cannon. So fire up your A's again if you want to. I got no problem with that. Osvaldo, is it Beto or Bido?
Beto.
He's facing the White Sox, so there's that. Don't have a lot of interest in him. If he picked up steam, you could look at the White Sox, but I don't see that as something that's necessary. 12% ownership, 7.2K. I guess you could look there just because the White Sox are bad, but mostly it'd be Athletics for me.
I don't mind Beto, 7,200, weak pitching slate. He's got some strikeout upside. The White Sox obviously are not a good offense. They strike out a lot. They have no power. They don't get on base. The 3 things that you don't want to do. They can't really do anything. So Vito's okay. Cannon, not really on that as much. I think he's fine if you want leverage, if Oakland or the A's are chalky or whatever, but not really interested. I think there are other cheap ones I'd rather play, like Newcomb, for example. And then the A's are okay. Obviously, they have a lot of power. We've seen that pretty often. Good park for power. Cannon's not really overpowering, so no issue with the A's. But as of now, they're kind of behind teams like the Dodgers and Angels for me tonight.
Yeah, they're not way up there like they were for me yesterday. If I was doing the stacks, I don't know if they would make the cut of like my top 5, but they're right there. They're right there on the outset. So they're certainly in play due to the park and the matchup. I tend to like to play them against Southpaws, but they were not facing one yesterday and they smoked. So they could certainly do that again. That said, like you mentioned, there's other offenses that just look a little bit better. One of them being the Halos. We got the Halos and the Rangers facing off. Jose Soriano taking on Texas. We know he can miss bats, but he's had issues against the left side of the plate. It's even worse this year. Small sample size for sure. But last year, just a 19% whiff rate against lefties. Not really giving up much power, but it's just, if you're not going to get the strikeouts and against an offense that doesn't even strike out that much and does have some power, that could be problematic. The Halos, though, look way better. Can attacking Patrick Corbin finally work out, please? That would be cool. I'm not really that interested if attacking Corbin's going to be like the thing to do on the slate, but I will admit with a 174 collective ISO and them just playing pretty well overall on the year, they do look really good. So first things first, Halos look great. I think if you want to play Soriano for K upside, you can do that. If you want to go get Texas bats and attack Soriano, who I think is picking up some ownership here. No, he's not. Okay, yeah, well, and he's also really kind of expensive for the spot. Point being, I'm mostly offensive focused here.
Yeah, kind of Angels or bust. Like they're going to be chalk, but it is Corbin. He's the worst pitcher on the slate. He doesn't strike anyone out. He had moderate ground ball stuff when he was in his prime, and last year a little bit, but don't really trust that to continue. I thought he would retire like 3 years ago, but he's still going for whatever reason. Angels are good. They have plenty of ready power to throw his way, especially if Ohapi's in the lineup. He was not there last night, but hopefully he will be today. Trout, Ward, Paris, Rengifo, Soler, Adele. It's just a lot of ready power that he's going to have to deal with. So Angels' chalk is not something I'm ever really inclined to do, but I'm fine making an exception on this one. And then Soriano, too expensive, not playing Corbin, not playing the Rangers against Soriano either.
Yep, totally fine with that. All right, Dodgers look like the best stack of the night, taking on the Rockies, facing Marquez. Nothing bad to say about the Dodgers except the fact they're expensive and perhaps they'll be chalky. But like you said, there are other offenses, so perhaps they'll dilute it a little bit. Either way, fire up the Dodgers if you can get there. Bobby Miller taking on the Rockies. I guess you could do the same thing you were talking about yesterday where you play some unowned Rockies to gain leverage. Seeing as Bobby Miller is going to be owned, he's one of 3 pitchers pulling 20% or more ownership. I'm just going to go Dodgers and Bobby Miller here. I do think the Rockies thing has merit, but they also are really bad. And at some point, he's going to get it going because he's a talented prospect. And they're like the best possible matchup.
Yeah, this is the lowest I've been on the Rockies all week. They haven't exactly done me well so far, but Miller, I think, obviously has strikeout upside. He hasn't really put it together on a full-time basis, but like you said, the talent is there as long as he can find the zone. Colorado is not a team that walks a lot. They strike out a ton. They don't have any power away from Colorado, so 7,700 Bobby Miller, I think, is my favorite of the cheap pitching options on the slate, which is not saying a lot. There's a lot of garbage out there. And then I think, obviously, the Dodgers, like Marquez is one of the better Rockies pitchers, but that's not saying a whole lot. He's still pretty good overall, but it is the Dodgers. They have loads of talent. Ohtani, Betts, Edman, Freeman, guys like that going to be standouts in any stack. So there's enough cheap pitching to make it pretty easy to pay for them. Getting to Bobby Miller and the Dodgers is going to be pretty popular, but really don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so to wrap things up here, let's end with our flag plant stack and pitcher of the slate.
So, I mean, the flag plant is obviously going to be the Angels, but that's not saying a whole lot. They're going to be the chalkiest stack on the slate. So going a little off the board, I guess I would say Cincinnati. against Bryce Miller, not a huge strikeout pitcher. Fly ball rate could be an issue in this park, which is not normally the case for him when he's at home. So I don't mind Reds as a lower owned kind of secondary stack. And then pitcher, it's going to be Aaron Nola. Again, going to be the chalk SP1, but not really a lot else to like on this slate. The Giants have some Ks in there, so okay with that.
So pitcher for me is going to be Bobby Miller. Obviously, it could always go wrong, but it's just like the best possible spot. He's not that expensive. He's favored to win. He's got an elite offense backing and blah, blah, blah. The only downside for Miller is the ownership, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. You know, the other, like, he's not my SP1, really, technically, but he's just like the guy I feel the best about, all things considered. Like, Noah is the best option with the best projection, but he also is in a really bad park against the capable offense. So, like, I don't love that. Like, I don't want to go get like 70% exposure to Nola today. Really, I would go like way overweight on Bobby Miller and feel reasonably confident going into the last game of the night. But the second pitcher spot, I'm going to spread that out. As far as stacks, like we already talked about, Angels great, the Dodgers great. If you get to those guys, that's fine. If they're owned, so be it. But again, I'll go back to Arizona, like 4.6 implied run total, facing a guy they can beat. Nobody's really going to be on them because these other offenses, plus they're in a pitcher-friendly park. But I think they can get to them early, and we just know that they have a ton of power. They can get going pretty quickly. So they are pretty interesting, especially if they're not going to be out. All right, that does it for us. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and come check out our Patreon. Just $5.99 for the entire month for everything that we offer, plus our Discord. Thanks for watching, and good luck.